if you stand against yourself, if you become extremely critical in the situation and you're like, oh my god, I should have done this, I must have done this, I could have done this, but I did not do it, and how stupid of me, how whatever adjective that you use to do that to people. Today's conversation on day 14 is all about that. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in again. The internet suddenly dropped. I do not know what happened, but here we are. We'll talk about our conversation about self-love and selfishness again, because most of the time when you are being really careful about yourself, caring towards yourself, other people think that you're selfish, and that thought of they thinking about you as a selfish person plays on your mind, and you start thinking that you're being selfish, and that's why you just drop what you're doing and just giving to their idea. So I was establishing this whole thing, okay? If the other person thinks that you are being selfish, what do they mean? They mean that you're choosing that, you are doing disservice to them, because you're not choosing their preferences, their ideas, their choices, and that does not work for them because they're like, this is so inconvenient. Now, that could be one aspect of selfishness where you absolutely do what is required for you, required for your growth, and people complain about it. The other aspect of being selfish is also this, that you become inconsiderate about other person. Is it possible that you're doing it? When you are inconsiderate about their choices, their preferences, and you become like, I don't care what is happening in your world, I'm just going to stick to my preferences and I'm going to do it. And that's my self-love idea. Now, I do not agree with self-love in many ways, because the way people speak about self-love is almost as if they're excluded from their families, people they love, and they are against one another. When you understand that the whole idea of doing your best, doing what you're required to do, and if it is inclusive, it includes other person, includes the person you hate the most, you're fighting the most with, then you may disagree with them, but you won't go down this whole battle with one another. And the battle happens, the whole fight happens when you believe that the other person is not doing things for your development, your betterment. My simple idea, whether people think that you're selfish or not, when you literally pick up things which are helpful for yourself, over a period of time they get the point. And if they don't get the point, you cannot convince anybody who doesn't want to be convinced ever. But if you take that in your stride, and if you understand that I'm gonna look at this and I'm gonna follow through the idea that matters to me, eventually they may see why you were so clear about it, why you kept fighting about this idea. But if you give up on that idea, nobody can ever see that idea, and then how will you get benefited by it? That whole concept of self-love is not withdrawing and pampering yourself only. It's also stepping out and doing whatever required, building whatever is needed, and thereby other people get to see the other side of the story. And that is something you must keep in mind. When you start seeing the other side of the story, you are, as I was talking about, right, like that day in one of our conversations I spoke about, if the problem is not between us but in front of us, then both of us are a team and we're trying to solve the problem. And it becomes easier for you to explain things in other people's language, their love language, their cognitive language. Some people get convinced with numbers, some people get convinced with data, some people get convinced with actual experience. So once you have that space, you can actually give that space to the other person. But I gave an example, and I'm going to repeat this for people who will be playing this in a replay. Imagine you are racing, like running race. You're in a racing competition, and out of 5 people, when their gunshot goes off, if you decide to run behind instead of running forward, no doubt how hard you run. You will have to come back and start on 0 again, because you already ran like say -5 kilometers, and then you have to come back and start running again. And by the time you reach the destination, but not only you're the last person, you're exhausted, you're tired, you just feel, why am I here? Same thing happens when you become harsh on yourself for all the mistakes that you have done, especially in the past. If there are things that have happened in the past and you keep thinking about them and you keep cursing yourself, if you responsible for it, lots of your self-image ideas are built by this messaging. Okay, today I wanted to talk about this because some people asked me how to build confidence, how to go about literally having conviction in things we do. Now, conviction comes by two things. One, definitely the skill set, the actual skill set. Can you really do the job? Can you really deliver on what you really want to build? Like back in the day when I wanted to be a presenter and I wanted to, create a podcast or content or whatever, and my dyslexia was like really strong, I realized that I needed to work on certain skill sets to be the person, to be the presenter I wanted to be. Now it required hiring lots of coaches, having a writing coach who made sure that I know how to write things, so and I say what I want to say, otherwise it just becomes completely distorted. Had so many people who made sure that they kept giving feedback. I kept recording myself and watching my own clips, making sure that I articulate things better. I recorded my own sessions to see can I come up with better examples. Now when you see 12-13 years of consistent work like that, now it feels spontaneous and you're like, oh, that's so interesting. In the moment there's a solution, there's an answer to this question. All of that is available today, but the whole aspect of it, the whole build up of it comes from the fact that we are actually on a journey together. Now that journey that you are taking with yourself and self-confidence so-called requires skill set building and second aspect of mindset building. You can't have one of them. If you want to start a new business, new career, if you are at a point where you feel I am a little old to start that, I am not equipped to do that, I don't have enough money to do that, no matter what you think is your limitation right now, if you are being hard on yourself without doing these two things, one, skill set building, second, mindset building. And if you're willing to do these two things, it will require efforts. Of course, it will require efforts. But if you are willing to play the game, things become easier and easier as you move forward. And please understand that. I want you to look at every time you're turning the game and being hard on yourself, pause and look at this thing. Am I doing skill set building here before I really be harsh on myself? Or am I doing the mindset building here? Now there's a book by an author called Carol Dweck. The book's name is Growth Mindset. The name of the book is Mindset, and she talks about these two ideas. One is growth mindset and another is fixed mindset. So she says no matter how huge a mountain is, it does not grow after a point. It grows like probably 1 inch if at all. That depends on the actual the geographical movement if at all. But only 1 inch. A tree which is really insignificant in comparison with the mountain size keeps growing at least 1 foot each year, depending on which tree it is, but it keeps growing in different ways. And that attitude of no matter how small or big you are, but the ability to grow, ability to stay in the growth mindset is way more powerful than actually having a fixed mindset. And if you are interested, please either read the book The Mindset by Carol Dweck, or just like read a synopsis or something. I don't know whether she has a TED talk, but I believe she should, or some interview. You'll get an idea. That book has inspired so many research papers, so many concepts in psychology and self-growth overall study. So please check it out. Because the very moment you say, my job is to stand here and pick up my growth mindset, I may be horrible. I might not get it correct. I might not understand it, but I will stay on the journey. And two concepts, very, very important. So when you get stuck, ask yourself, am I building skill? Am I building my mindset? If both these things come together, it is difficult. It's almost impossible for you to go against yourself. Now I'm going to change this and talk about when people are against you, when people are standing in front of you and saying whatever you're doing, you're a selfish person, you're wrong, you're incorrect, you're incapable, whatever they're doing. Now even if that is true about you or your situation right now, then what they're saying is what they're seeing in the moment. What they're seeing in the moment is right now, this is your starting point. And you say, okay, I have two choices. I can take all this criticism personally and believe that I will never, ever, ever be able to build it again. Or I can stand here and look at things and say, okay, wait a minute, I can actually change from the starting point and go wherever I like to go. And that is a choice, my friend, you can make. Either to stand here and allow other people's thoughts, other people's opinions to be completely solid about you, or stand here and say, okay, that's what you thought about me, probably that was your experience of me was, or probably you didn't understand me, whatever they thought. But whatever people think is not in our hands. It is not, is very little we can do about it. But what you think about yourself, the way you look at your problem, the way you look at your skill set building, is absolutely in your hand. The name of the book I'm going to repeat is called Mindset by Carol Dweck. Okay, so please check it out. It is really, really interesting. I read this book in 2007 or 2008, and since then, every time I came across a problem, a challenge, I looked at it and say, hey, can I change something about it? Can I alter something? Okay, actually, one moment. I have. Okay. So that is the book. You're seeing it other way around, and it says The New Psychology of Success, and it's very interesting how everywhere she picks up different examples and talks about it. So in one of the examples where she's talking about a player who was playing football, and instead of kicking a goal in other team's net, he by mistake turned around and actually played the goal in his own net, in his own team's net. And she says that in that moment he had a choice to choose fixed mindset, where he allows that moment where he made this colossal mistake to just get to him and absolutely not play at all, or he had a choice of choosing a growth mindset where he stands there and says, okay, I made a horrible mistake right now. Oh my God, how could I do it? And in order to correct the mistake in my second part of my game, I have to work harder, I have to work double to probably make 2 goals. And this player actually chose growth mindset, and he changed the whole situation. So she says what eventually set him apart was his mindset and his drive. He never stopped being curious. Now it is very interesting that if you take your criticism personally given by others, what happens most of the time? People criticize you. They say, oh, you don't look good. Oh, you don't know how to do this work. You're incapable of doing it. Or, oh, you may think that this is still the time for you, but probably it is not. When people say such things, it's not what they say. It is the whole problem is you take those words, you imbibe them, and you start living in those words, which means you keep repeating those words to yourself, and those words which came from other people to you become part of your thinking. And you keep repeating those words, and they start playing on your mind as if it is your belief. And this is where the problem is. The very moment other people's words become your belief, then you can't differentiate between the two and you stay stuck. But if you have a choice to switch that around and look at your situation and their thoughts as their thoughts, and say, okay, wait, I'm still curious to figure out, can I build my mindset here? Can I build my skill set here? And if you start playing from these two things, any skill that you pick up won't be really difficult for you. You know, some people do have a natural tendency to do certain things, and some people do have a natural lack of doing certain things. I understand completely. You might not be as good as like the best person in the field. You know, all of us, people who are interested in cricket, I'm not that person at all. People who are interested in cricket might not have the natural tenacity and talent the way Sachin Tendulkar has. Obviously, you know, so he's like the genius in his field. But that doesn't mean you can't learn and master large part of that skill if you set your mind to it. So we are talking about what can you do, what is possible for you. And when you walk into this situation with a question, something really powerful happens. Okay, so I want you to ask yourself this question: when you step into the self-critical thinking, that non-stop jabber, non-stop thinking, which causes anxiety, which creates all the palpitation and triggers and patterns and all of that, when you are like walking into it and you are criticizing yourself, stand there and ask yourself this very, very important question: have I given my best possible shot? It's very important. Your best possible shot might not be the best shot, but is it your best possible shot? If the answer is yes, great, amazing. And if you think probably I could have done better, ask yourself the second continuation of this question: what do I require to do to build my mindset and my skill set? So technically the question is mindset or skill set, but most of the time you have to build both. You just can't be only building mindset. Most of the time it goes hand in hand. So when you today ask yourself a question, think of this moment where you become absolutely self-critical. And when you're being self-critical, when you're being really that annoying when it comes to criticism of your own self, just pause and ask yourself this question, important, crucial question: did I give my best possible shot? If the answer is yes, great, amazing. If the answer is no, which most of the time will be because you're feeling anxious and you're feeling that, oh my God, why am I not reaching? So you're feeling all out of control. So if that is the case, then you ask yourself the second question: what do I require to do to build my skill set or my mindset, or both? Okay. Now with that question, I'm going to move to graphotherapy, which means I want you to get your ruled book and a simple, humble ballpoint pen. I do not want anything fancy. I want simple, humble ballpoint pen, because the pressure otherwise alters or changes when you do that. So do not do that. I'm gonna come to all the questions that people are asking on Facebook and YouTube. Just give me a moment. I'm gonna finish this practice. People on Facebook and YouTube, give me 5 minutes to do the graphotherapy, which I cannot show to you, but this is a practice which is available on the YouTube channel that we have. It's called Calmness Through Handwriting. And if you want to look at things, if you want to participate in this initiative, the link is aditisurana.com/lockdown21. So we are running this 21-day process. You can jump in any point in time and continue from here. Once you finish 21 days, we'll send you all the sequence of email from, say, if you finish 21 day, then we will go back to day 1 and send all the required emails to anybody who has started late. Okay, so don't be worried about that. Now I'm going to get to handwriting therapy, and after we finish this, when I come back, I want to talk about some handwriting strokes that you can check in your own writing that talk about your ability, your pattern, your so-called ways of going about criticizing yourself. Okay, so 2-3 things we're going to look at. So here I go. I'm going to just switch the camera. Okay, there you go. I could do this alone. Yay! Okay, so we're going to start the graphotherapy practice. We're going to begin by breathing slightly longer than your normal breath. That's the beginning point of your graphotherapy. Every time you do the graphotherapy, the whole idea is to commit to each stroke. It doesn't matter how long the stroke formation is. What matters is how committed you are, how involved you are in each stroke formation. Okay, your mind will go all over the place, and let it go all over the place. That's stopping your mind is not our idea. Our idea is to step into the space, breathe slightly longer, and pay attention to each point that we have made. Okay, so there are 5 points to keep in mind when you do this practice. Please watch the entire explanation video where I have taken time to explain everything. It is on the YouTube channel. It is available on the link when you actually sign up. We'll send you all the resources. Okay, so let's get started. Breathe slightly longer than your normal breath. Do not get into deep breathing. Every time you do this practice, every time you get to the stroke formation, that formation is your connection point with your body. If you can't meditate, if you can't get your mind and body to be still, this particular practice can become your way to train yourself into calmness. Breathe slightly longer than your normal breath when you do this practice. For whatever reason, if your pen stops, if the movement stops, just pick up the pen and start the stroke again. Make sure each loop is open and well formed. We do not try to focus, we do not try to concentrate. All we try to do is stay involved. If your mind goes all over the place, let it go. One of the thoughts will be to pay attention to the stroke and pay attention to your breathing. With that thought, simply come back and pay attention. That's all. Most of the time we are so busy rushing. We want to reach the end. We want to get things done. We want to get done with things. So almost for 14 to 17 hours a day, we train our minds to jump and multitask and get engaged with things that are stimulating and rushing us. We do not get time to do this. Just be involved for the heck of it. Doing one page of the stroke practice is almost like adding a spoonful of calmness. Literally a spoonful of calmness in your day, and all the results that all of you are seeing are just with one spoonful of calmness. Can you imagine? Some of you may think, oh, I have time on hand, should I do like 5 pages so I can add 5 spoonful of calmness in my life? No, don't. If you eat one mango, it is yummy. If you eat the second one, it is kind of still nicer. If you eat 5, it just adds to heat and not necessarily the taste and enjoyment. So don't be greedy with calmness too. So we're not building any habit with this stroke, because habit means you're just doing the practice, you're finishing the page without being involved, because you just got to do tick mark on your to-do list. Oh, stroke practice done. Now I am programmed to feel calm. It doesn't work like that. It is the involvement, it is the breath observation, it is the presence that you become when you do this practice that solves the problem, that creates the journey that we are talking about. Give me a moment, I'm going to switch my camera. Yes.